2, Durable by Design with whoever I am, Matt Bolian, and Crispy Barnett, where we talk about how partners or agencies or consultants or service companies or people that do services on top of technology can scale. What is up with you today, Crispy?
I am like an 8 out of 10. Yeah.
So if you know anything about Super, we only talk in numbers, which is very useful. We'll talk about the operating principle one day. So 1 out of 10, 5's not a number. He just gave me an 8. That's a pretty high number. So congratulations. Why are you 8 out of 10 today?
Lots of good things happening. Like tons of good things. I think I'm mainly excited the most because I am becoming the villain in the admin arena. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out on LinkedIn. Yeah, so I've been called out multiple times, and
the villain. Here,
I am embracing.
This Crispy actually doesn't know how to use HubSpot, and he's about to be just revealed.
Crushed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm being labeled as the villain, so I'm embracing the persona.
Okay. Received. Well, today we're here. What is something that every agency or consultant should know, Crispy?
Every agency, consultant, service provider, sales rep, everyone should be prioritizing the experience and the feeling of the experience above all other things.
Big statement. Bold. What does it mean? What does that mean?
It means that the way that you continue to drive positivity, or you continue to drive next steps in a sales cycle or retention even, is by provoking feelings and targeting the pathos of an individual in order to keep them engaged and keep them happy and keep them thinking about their happiness and feelings, and mainly in a sales process specifically. So part of that is the experience needs to resonate with them and the thing that drives them, like as a person. This is kind of, we've talked about story brand framework before, like the hero and the mission piece. I'm also a big believer in like the ethos, pathos, logos targeting when it comes to like your value props or your storytelling or the way that you make someone feel ultimately. Achieving a goal or checking a box is not a feeling. Right? Showing someone a function is not a feeling, right? Showing excitement and, prosperity inside of a sales cycle that shows how someone will be, on the other end is way more powerful and way stronger of a feeling in comparison to here are these functions and does this help solve your problem? The narrative that promotes feelings will always prevail as successful.
I agree. I agree with this so much that we built Super. Because the point. Okay. Here's why I agree. I think this is helpful. Is specifically, and I think everyone, just like they're always selling. If you read the book "To Be Human Is to Sell," selling is everyone is giving a service. A tech company that has an onboarding is giving a service. A sales rep that's taking somebody through a process better give some insight and give value. They're giving a service. And service is, we'll say it differently, the experience you give people is the service. The experience you give people is the service. And here is why. It's not made up. Number one, memory and what people remember and is how they feel always more than the deliverables you give them. A deliverable is not why people stay. The deliverable only works in the way that it makes them feel. And it will either make them feel confident a process is done, it'll make them feel confident something is complete, it'll make them feel confident, or it will leave them feeling like you didn't do work. So to not give a deliverable may cause a bad experience. You don't optimize for the deliverable, you optimize for the experience. And what I fundamentally see in service partners is we think about, we optimize for the wrong things, we optimize somewhere else. So number two is your client's perspective is the reality, and experience you give them shapes perspective. And so in some ways, the experience is the perspective they have is the is the product. So when I'm selling is if I change their mind, I'm changing their perspective on something, and it's the experience. It's like, so it's like there's very little that's different between the experience you give and their perspective. And so and that perspective is the reality. So when someone's angry with you or you don't deliver something, it's their perspective. Even when it's wrong, they are right. And we need to live in that world. And it's like number 3 is, if you want to grow a business, people will only refer you if they believe in you, and believing is they only ever based on the experience they give. And they're going to say, like, it's like we don't realize this is the best way to grow is word of mouth and referrals. And they're going to say, well, how was it working with them? That's how people ask. And they're like, oh, it was a great, what's the word? They say experience. And I don't know why service companies don't get this and don't optimize around it. It blows my mind.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, this is where we talked about in a previous episode, if I have 10 partners, right, and I am looking for a reconfiguration of HubSpot, it's very probable that 9 out of those 10 partners will produce the same exact thing for me.
Yeah. Yes. Commodities can be copied. Experiences can't. Yes.
Exactly. So at that point, and I tell this like to our GTM partners all the time. Everyone is going to get to a point where they're doing guided onboarding. Everyone's getting get to a point where they have some self-serve option for them to like purchase off the shelf. The difference is experience. That is the difference that you need to focus on more than anything else if you want to be successful and maintain a competitive edge. That is mainly, I think, what we talk about the most is what's the competitive edge? And an experience can be a competitive edge, but there's also multiple things that feed into that experience that need to be thought about. Yeah.
So the question becomes, how do you make experiences? And I want to give this very practical way for people. There's this book. There's a book. I guess I can't remember the name, but the person was Daniel Kahneman, and he has something called the peak end rule. The peak end rule, and it means this is people judge experiences based on the most intense part, like the most emotionally charged portion of it, and ultimately how it ends. So why deliverables are so useful inside is because it's always given at the end, and if people, it's a feeling you deliver to people. And internally, the way when I was running Rev Partners is the peak, like, is often never the peak. It's only the trough. And so you just have to prevent anybody from being angry at you. And the way you do that is always it's almost always a bad experience. It's almost always saying they didn't respond fast enough to me. And so if you can get rid of, like, how do I respond really quickly to everybody? How am I always where they are at the point of need? And how do I end and conclude whatever I said I was going to do? If you can do really good at those two things, you will give a good experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a common notion as well that I think is overlooked is when people think about experience and how to optimize for the experience, it tends to be a reactive approach, where when you lose a customer, or if someone churns or does not renew, stuff like that, you tend to use that as a trigger point to analyze the experience, where there's definitely valuable data and valuable feedback in that type of situation to pull inspiration for optimizing your experience. I would argue that there is more value in going to your happiest customers that have been around the longest and asking them, hey, what is it about you and your customer experience that has made you stay around for so long, and using that to drive that value. There's
another concept. I just love these. Like, this is one of my favorite topics. There's another framework called effective with an A. Effective forecasting, and it's a principle saying and this is a true statement, scientifically backed, like humans suck at predicting what makes them happy. That's why we all try to make $100 million, and then you have a bunch of really unhappy people that end up doing really bad things to either their family or themselves, without using anything specific or saying bad things. But we're really good at, doing what, remembering how something made us feel. And so the implication is exactly what you said, is it's not useful often to go to someone that churned and say, like, how can I make the experience better? It's really useful to talk to churn customers because you understand product market fit, but it's usually more go-to-market fit and what they saw as the value, not the experience necessarily. You can only see troughs. You actually can't see the peaks. And the peaks are what you want to optimize for, not the troughs. So the implication is don't deliver what people ask for. Deliver what makes people remember you. Now, this year is a really weird concept, and it's hard to wrap your head around, but I'm going to give a very specific thing. I love, let me give it for events. And if you've ever been in a super event, you may have felt this way. Everybody's like, oh, you have great vibes. Well, that was on purpose. And I think about events and only 4 questions I ask. 4 questions. As number 1, what's the theme? And what I mean by themes, is everybody dressing up like pirates, and we're having, and then everything's we have pirate booty we give away. We have a treasure chest. We have eye patches. So there's a theme. It might be Power Rangers, which we're probably going to do that one day. I love Power Rangers.
That's awesome.
Number 2 is, what are the WTF moments? Like, what makes people say, what the heck's happening? And you think about that both from afar. I call it a 50-meter target and a 5-meter target. So what makes people stop 50 meters away and say, what's happening over there? And then a 5-meter target saying, I can't believe, which is when they're up close, I can't believe they just said that. I can't believe they're wearing that. I can't believe it smells. I can't believe I'm hearing it. Whatever it is, it's a I can't believe moment. And last is, what is your uniform? I didn't say how many demos do we get, which is the outcome if you give people experiences. That's how you optimize for experiences.
Yeah. I agree. There needs to be an understanding of the sensation that you provide, and that's what it sounds like to me when like we've talked about this a lot recently as well, is how sensational can this be to build the experience, especially because going back to the value of experiences, and like impressions are a big part of that. First impressions drive your future experience. In situations like that where you have a brand presence at a booth or whatever it is, like they will always remember that. This is why in our sales process we ask, how did you find us? Because that is what we capitalize upon to show further value and continue the experience. And
I'll say this, what matters less is first experience. What matters most is the end experience. Sometimes the first is the last, but just to say that, like in service capacity, the end matters more than anything else. So, and the troughs and the valleys, is at least from the peak end thing. Here is, I'm gonna leave. I have 2 more thoughts on this. I'm just bringing books I've read at this point. So there's another one called. If you haven't read it, it's a great book, The Trust Gap, and it's all about services, and it's on this one concept. And you might say that sounds a lot like Super. It is, and this is why in many ways Super exists. There's an invisible chasm at all times. This goes for employees. But even more so for like when you're a client giving services, between what you're doing and what the client sees. And this exists in every relationship you have. You have what you're doing and what the person thinks you're doing. And at translating the service company is, I used to do this all the time in RP. I'll just ask a question. But clients can't read your Asana board. They don't, nor do they care. But they feel whether you're on top of it or not. And what I see service companies doing over and over again, because it's easier, it's why sales managers track activity. It's easy. Is we optimize for how many hours did you give? Did you and we don't optimize for experiences, and we start doing KPIs, and what we end up we lose heart, which is all about giving people and making them feel good. And the only way you can bridge the invisible gap, and I'd say this, hey guys, if you're an executive of a company, you need to remember this. If you are anywhere, that gap is filled with uncertainty, anxiety, and misalignment. And so how do you solve those things? There's only one way, and it's over communication, transparency, and empathy, or like when you mess up, you own your messes very quickly. And if you do those three things, that's why I like the peak end is get a really banging end state, and in the middle, never have a trough. And the only way you can do that, the only way you can get over the trust gap is to over communicate, respond with received and verbally when somebody says something very quickly, and when you mess up, own your failure and say it's my fault and fix it.
Yep.
Or get supered and do all those things much easier, so you're always just right there with them. Like it's like super in many ways was built to like go over the trust gap, and it's really for this. Like my frustration in doing this, and your frustration in scaling a company. If I wish I could duplicate myself, it's because you were really good at bridging the trust gap, and other people haven't learned that skill yet.
Yeah, you're really good at providing an experience, and experiences are hard to replicate, especially in different people.
Yes, because everybody gives their own experience, and in a service company, you sell yourself, and you must duplicate yourself, and you're really duplicating experience. Oh gosh, I said I had one more thing, and it's this. It is, you hear me rage about the word rage is too strong, but I mean just hit. You can't over communicate this too much. Is the narrative people live in dictate the experience they have. So when and it is true, humans remember stories more than they remember facts. It's and so it's one thing to say like let me give you an example of this. We've helped people go from 42% conversion rate to 67%. It's like nobody gives a rat's behind. I hate case studies. That's like referrals to say. That's why it matters so much more. It just like you ask a friend, you're like, hey, is that real? And you're like, oh, no, man. It just felt good. I don't even know if that was like, it just felt good to work with them. Yep. And so give people stories, make them the hero, be the guide, help them get to that point. And you do that by over communicating, being right beside them, answering their questions quickly, and giving them a really good product and deliverables at the end, or having super.
Yeah. It's like they need a sidekick.
It's like they need a sidekick. Okay. Well, with that, Crispy, anything you want to add?
No, I would say like talking about impact moments and optimizing for your experience. Talk to happy customers and see what it is about your relationship with them that keeps them around, and use that to optimize your own business and your own experience drivers.
Man, that is so hard to do, Crispy. I can feel it right now. I'm going to go talk to customers that said goodbye, and because I won't like, please come back, talk to me again. Yeah. Versus, I know you're here forever. It's like you got to shift it. It's not human nature to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Crispy, tell me something nobody knows about you.
Ooh. I am a big anime fan. We talked about this in one of our Slack channels today. So,
what's your
chat
anime?
I'm going to give a broad answer in terms of my favorite anime, like Studio Ghibli. It's pretty awesome. So.
Okay. Personally, I'm a Full Metal Alchemist kind of person. So.
Oh, wow. That's okay. I mean, I'm impressed. That is like OG.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Sweet. Well, everybody, appreciate you. Everybody stay awesome, keep it big, and never stop believing. Adios, everybody.